Hi, I'm Lindsay with Health Up. So today, sorry for the background noise. Today I'm going to be talking about the DNA test and what it is, why it's so important, and how it's different than the hype. It's not like the blood test, blood type diet, or some of these popular diets. It's not like that. It's actually moving into the future of medicine, and what's projected actually is that every doctor will have someone's genetic report on their desk when they're recommending medicines, when they're recommending anything to enhance or improve their health. So this is the future, and it's not just begun, it's been in the works for some time. And I'm proud to say that I'm working with a company that's using a report that's highly accurate and highly representative of how our body functions. So I'll explain a little bit more about what this means. So this is for those who have been exposed to DNA or haven't at all. So first, what I'll do, I'll just show you kind of the high-level report. This is the report that I'm working with, and it's 26 pages, so you'd receive it electronically if you took the test. And what it does, there's lots of pictures in here, lots of explanation and things, but this is the executive summary, and this is the most important, because what this does, it tells me, this is kind of dark purple, and the long bars are the high genetic vulnerabilities that one has, and that's where I'd be focusing on. Then you've got all the way to low. And if someone's got health issues that they're struggling with, they're not sure why, this uses a functional medicine-based approach. And what that means, functional medicine is actually my favorite type of medicine in this day and age. So if you think about conventional medicine, which I'm gonna oversimplify it a lot, but conventional medicine is you go to a medical doctor who has tons of tools and medicines and things to offer, and it does help in this day and age with many, especially urgent care. But when you go to a doctor, you have a symptom, they say, okay, you've got these symptoms, this is your diagnosis, and this is the medicine to help that diagnosis. Very simple. Oftentimes the medicine doesn't work. Sometimes it works, and if it does, many times it fixes it for a bit, but it doesn't prevent it from happening again, or you have to keep taking that medicine. And oftentimes you'll have to not only take that medicine, but later on you're gonna have other things that come up and other medicines that you need to take, related or not, or at least don't seem to be related. But what happens in functional medicine is a lot of doctors and other practitioners are going back to school after their conventional medical training and learning root cause medicine. So not what medicine will fit a diagnosis, but what are the root causes in how the body is functioning and can explain why you're having the symptoms you're having. So genetics is plays a very big role in that, because it tells you your genetic vulnerabilities and how your body functions and where it's likely to go wrong, especially if your lifestyle does not actually fit where you have genetic sensitivity. So for example, someone may be predisposed to diabetes, and that's not because of how many carbs they eat. It's actually maybe because they're over-exercising too much. Can you believe that? Because over-exercising can lead to oxidative stress, and if someone has genetic susceptibility to oxidative stress, then think of oxidative stress, the way to define it is looking at an apple browning. That apple has turned brown, it's aging, it's like human rusting or human aging. Sorry for the background noise. And this human aging can be enhanced by many things, by overexerting, over-exercising. And oxidative stress is actually one of the root causes of diabetes. Another way to reduce the oxidative load or aging and things like that is to eat berries and polyphenols and antioxidants, which I would explain in more detail when we would discuss the DNA or in my coaching programs. However, the most important is that we have so many of our own antioxidant enzymes in our body, and we can actually turn on that expression of those antioxidant enzymes by our lifestyle and our food. And so even though you have certain genes that you can't change, you cannot change the genes, so when you take this test, if you're a baby or 100, it's the same, but you can change the expression of them. And the expression of them is by how you live your life. And if you know your genetic vulnerabilities, this often can explain why you're having issues. even weight issues that explain some of these things. So looking at this report helps you understand your body in a completely different way and helps you get to the root cause of many things. Now, it is not diagnostic, so it will not tell you which diseases you have. It will not tell you that this is actually happening in your body. It'll tell you that it's likely to happen in that sense if you're having some issues. But if you fix these by going through the recommendations that are in this report, and so basically each of the high risk or high impact items. And let me clarify, your risk is not your genes. Your genes give you the genetic vulnerability, and when you combine that with your lifestyle, that equals your risk. So again, your risk is your genes and your lifestyle combined, your risk for diseases and issues and symptoms. But your genetic vulnerabilities give you a much bigger view of where it's likely to go wrong. So in this report, it will show you if you detoxify, if you're likely to have genetic vulnerability to detoxify well. Then it gives you 3 nutritional recommendations, 3 lifestyle, and 3 supplement recommendations. And it does that for all of the higher impact genetic items. Now what I do in the consultation we would have is that I pull it up, because there are so many recommendations in here based on each of the higher impact items that it's a lot for someone to take in. So I will give you a 1-pager of the top few recommendations: nutrition, lifestyle, and possibly supplements. And then if you need to do any tests to actually check on certain things. And I do this 1-pager, I create it by looking at not only your genetic vulnerabilities, but also the symptoms that you've got, your lifestyle, your preferences, your goals. So taking all of that into account, that's really the study of nutrigenomics, which is changing the expression of your genes based on your diet and lifestyle. You would have also heard of probably epigenetics, which is changing the expression of your genes. And this is an umbrella. This is part of that umbrella. So it's a beautiful way to look at your health. It's more personalized. And I'll just walk you through a couple exciting things in the report. So those main pathways that I mentioned, so looking at detoxification, oxidative stress, looks at DNA damage, inflammation, methylation, and I would explain what these are, especially if you have a genetic predisposition to having some vulnerability there. But what happens is it would tell you if you need more of certain nutrients than others, because some people that, for example, don't methylate well need more folate, need more choline, need more vitamin B12 than others. And that's just so their body functions well. So it can explain why someone is having headaches, why someone is having some stomach issues and things like that, because maybe they're completely inflamed and they're genetically predisposed to be inflamed. So we work on an anti-inflammatory diet in that sense. This we have to focus on first. These are the cellular pathways. If we focus on these, a lot of other things start to fall into place. But then the next level down is looking at if you're likely to have blood clotting, bone collagen and joint issues, which often relates to osteoporosis, arthritis, and injuries and things like that. So if you've got things that run in your family, issues like this, and you have a genetic predisposition, then it's really important that we work on certain things so that you don't have to face these issues in your lifetime, or at least reduce the severity of them if they do come. Brain health, so links to Alzheimer's and dementia and cognitive function, memory, just performance during the day. So just looking at how we can optimize that, especially if you have a genetic vulnerability. Glucose and insulin. So even though this may be low on this report, low impact, you can still have risk for diabetes if you have high oxidative stress, for example. There are other examples that contribute to diabetes as well. Vascular health, so related to heart disease. We want to make sure that we optimize all of these, especially where we're highly prone to having some type of sensitivity. The next section focuses on your weight, and I'm not going to go through this line because the more exciting thing is the pictures, especially in this one. So this one is my favorite because this one tells you your plate and how much you need to eat to feel full. So I've got some reports of clients where they have a little bit of food. They don't actually need to eat much to feel full. And then I've got other pictures and other clients where the food is falling off. the plate. And that's just because they have a high appetite. They may need to eat more frequently. They may actually hardly ever feel full, and it's completely genetic. Now, there are some lifestyle things that may happen if you have a lot of carbs. Sometimes just the carbs create this addiction to more carbs. So I actually don't have much on my plate. It's a little bit less than this, but I had a huge appetite when I was eating a load of carbs. So that's where lifestyle does come into play. So genetics are not the full picture, but they give kind of your your indication of what's going to happen. And lifestyle adds on to that. So imagine if you have a very big plate and you're eating a lot of carbs, of course you can't stop eating. So this is where I can help. Another beautiful part about the report is it tells you how responsive you are to exercise. And in this example, exercise, it plays a huge role in weight loss. So this is where I would encourage someone more to focus on exercise than on food, because they burn calories more with exercise than they do with food. Others, vice versa. So you see where you fall on this plate, on this place. And then the last section is how responsive you are to lose weight. And there are people that lose weight quickly. There are others that lose weight very slowly, others that lose and rebound. And then I think it's around 23% of the people who are very resistant to losing weight. And this can explain why some may have struggled with weight loss even though they've tried all the diets in the world. And that's just because they have some genetic sensitivity. So then we need to set realistic expectations for weight loss. But the important thing is to look at the other areas that are higher risk, which are higher impact, I should say. And if we look at those, then if we focus on these, the weight loss generally, that picture looks better than if you don't focus on this and you only try to lose weight. So it's really important to start upstream, root cause in that sense. Then the other piece is you look at your susceptibility to injury and how much power and endurance you have. So some people, their graph looks like this. They could do an Ironman. Others will just have a short run, short intensity. So there's a lot of recommendations in the report about what types of workouts you should do based on your genes, because they've linked these genes to a whole host of different types of people and looking at their performance. And the elite athletes will be up here genetically, and they've tested this. They tested everything in here, by the way. Multiple human clinical trials, not just mice studies, which sometimes these genetic reports will just throw in something that looks good and seems exciting, seems very cool. And then when you look at the details, sorry, I have an earpiece. When you look at the details, they have only been studied in mice or in vitro, or one clinical trial with like 10 people. This is not even close to enough to being scientifically valid. So it's really important to make sure that you choose a report that has substance behind everything that's in there. Then another cool thing is how susceptible you are to having a good level of vitamin D based on absorption, metabolism. Caffeine, so some people are sensitive to caffeine in two different ways. One is how stimulated they feel, and that's related to a gene that relates to how fast you process neurotransmitters, which is like your dopamine, your adrenaline, your norepinephrine. And some people, so basically any type of stimulation that they have, it takes 4 times as long for them to cool down. Usually they're more hyperactive. So I have that gene, which is, I have the double allele, so I'm the extreme. And that's a scientific word because you can have 2 of the amino acids. You can have 1 or you can have 0, and I have both. And so what that means is that I do take 4 times as long to calm down, and that's why I have to do a lot of stress reduction and stress relaxation techniques to keep myself calm. It takes longer to fall asleep. It usually correlates to a lower pain tolerance. And so also if you're drinking caffeine and having any stimulation, it takes longer to get it out of your system from an energy perspective or stimulation perspective. Then you've got the other gene, which does not show any signals in your body in terms of how you feel after you drink caffeine, but someone can take up to 40 times as long to process caffeine if they have the double allele to that gene. Sometimes they only have 1 of them, so They do take longer, but not as long as someone else. So that's why it's important, if you do have that gene and you are drinking more than 2 cups a day, it is highly correlated to a higher risk of heart attack. So that's why it is recommended that you do not drink more than 2 cups a day if you have this gene. So that's why it's interesting to know. Another one is salt. So how much your blood pressure goes up with salt. So some of you who do not have high blood pressure do not have to worry about it. Some have low blood pressure. 50% of the people in the world, their blood pressure does not change with the amount of salt intake change. So if they are diagnosed with high blood pressure and they're told to go off salt, it may not be applicable. So it's good to know these things, so then you know where to focus. I've gone through a lot. It's been quite a long video. I hope that it helped you understand what DNA is all about, where it can help you, and how it can help you really explain a lot of what's going on in your body. This report is handy for life. So it's not something that you just look at once and you say, okay, that was interesting. I'm serious, you should put a reminder and come back to it every 6 months and look at where you are on a scale of 1 to 10, how healthy do you feel? And look at the recommendations, especially the high impact. And if you can improve on those and check your rating again, you will likely see shifts. So that's where it is really essential to enhance your overall health. Thank you so much for watching. Health Up, everyone.